Well, today we have a very important topic. We are going to talk about the world of relationships. Let me fix the audio here. Okay, now it's better, right? Well, as I was saying, we are going to talk about the world of relationships, and this is a very important topic as all the relationships that we establish have a purpose that due to the ignorance that we have in relationship to the very purpose of all the relationships that we like establish in this world, due to this they are usually like deteriorated. The relation with our physical body, with everyone in the world, with the very same world, with the money, with the animals, with the plants, with other people, and the relationship with ourselves are most of the times deteriorated because we don't know that all relationships must be established for a learning process. Now that we are going to see these three types of relationships and we are going to see how to solve them, we are going to learn what we can do to really achieve true happiness. When we really learn how to relate with our physical body, with everyone, and with our own being, we are on the way of achieving true happiness. So, the objective of today's lecture, as you can see here, will be first to know the three types of relationships that human beings have, to get to know what their functions are, what and in what state they currently are, and what would be the optimal state for each of these relationships. And well, as we get to know that we are not like in the optimal state for that relationship, we are going to learn how to fix them. And at the end of the explanation of these uh, relationships, we are going to learn a practice that is known as the ICE file, or the file of the psychological selves, whatever you want to call it. Well, the ICE file is the name that I put for the practice. And well, with that practice, that is very interesting, we are going to learn how we can, well, you are going to see. It's a very interesting practice that is going to help us a lot in the work of the psychological depth using the information that we are receiving in this lecture. Okay, so let's first start by understanding that there are three types of relationship. The relationship that we have with our physical body, we know we can easily get to see that we only worry about this physical body when we get sick, but we make misuse of it. We have this marvelous machine, because it is a machine. It is like a vehicle for our consciousness to manifest in this third dimension, but we actually make a really bad use of it. And we don't really know what are the causes of our diseases, but we are going to see that they are a result of the bad relationship that we have with our physical body. The second type of relationship is our relationship with the external world. That is, with everything that exists in our environment, from our physical body out, because we don't understand the real purpose of interacting with the external world, and for that reason we have all kinds of problems. And the third relationship is the relationship with oneself, and it is actually like the most forgotten one. As we don't know ourselves, we don't know our inner world. For that reason, the connection with our divine part is blocked with what we really are, which is our inner being. That relationship is like blocked because we, most of the time, not to say all the time, we forget about ourselves. And well, that is like the most important relationship, and we are going to learn how to fix all of those relationships in this lecture. So let's start by talking about the relationship with our physical body. Well, first let me tell you that if you have any question in relation to this topic, you can leave your questions there in the chat, and I will be gladly solving any question that you have at the end of the explanation. And if you see the video after the live broadcast past. You can anyway leave your questions, and I will be taking time during the day. I mean, morning, whatever. I'm all the time checking if there is any question in the lectures, and I will be gladly solving any concern that you have, any question. So feel free to leave your comments and questions there in the chat. Okay, so the first relationship, the one with our physical body, what is it? It is the relationship that we have with our planetary body, which is a body that is composed of cells, composed of matter, you know? And we tend to think that we have a knowledge, that we know our physical body, but actually it is not like that. Not even the best scientists really know the physical body. So medicine, they like have certain knowledge about the functionings of the cells, of certain knowledge about the functioning of the DNA, of the atoms, of some molecules, you know. But actually, they don't really know all the functioning of the physical body because it is a very, very complex machine. And well, what is the function of our physical body? Our physical body have the superior purpose of generating and condensing sexual energy. That is the most important, the most important function of the physical body. Our body is constantly generating sexual energy, and as this energy is creative, is like the most important thing in us, because with this energy we can get to create ourselves. Our physical body was actually created through sex, through the union of the sexual energy of our father and of our mother, and there our physical body was created. And through the wise use of our own sexual energy by practicing the suprasex, we are going to create ourselves internally. We are going to regenerate this physical body that is in this moment degenerated. It's in a lunar condition due to all of our psychological defects, due to the misuse of our psychological defects, due of our sexual, of our energy, of each one of the energies that we have in the body. And well, due to that reason, this body is in a lunar condition, and we are going through the practice of the supersex. We are going to take it to a solar condition. We are going to totally regenerate this physical body, regenerate our vital part, which is our vital body, and we are also going, by making a wise use of our sexual energy through the suprasexuality, to create our solar astral body. We don't have it, we just have like an embryo of our astral body, and we are going to create our mental body, and we are going to create our causal body. And all of those creations that we are going to do internally, we are going to do so with the help of this energy condenser that is our physical body. We talked a lot about the topic, of the 7 bodies in the lecture number 10, and there we explained the practice of the suprasex. In case you didn't see that lecture, you can come here in the video section of the Facebook page, or in the video in the reproduction list, in the playlist of the YouTube channel. There you can find this lecture, the number 10, the 7 bodies, and see everything about that topic. Okay, so what is like the current situation with our physical body? How we can see, or what are the alerts that let us know that we are not having a correct relationship with our physical body? Well, actually, we can see that we have a very bad relationship with our physical body in the negative condensation that we are making of our energy. It happens that as we are all the time being moved by the ego, as this human machine is moved by our anger, our sadness, our pride, our envy, our laziness, our criticism, our impatience, our anxieties, our depression, etc. Our ego is moving in us from moment to moment. driving the human machine. It is not our consciousness. If we are not practicing, working on the three factors for the consciousness revolution, we are all the time being driven by our psychological defects. And with the manifestation of each one of our egos, our energy is being misused by each one of them and is being negatively inside of us, becoming diseases. Because if you are constantly letting the anger manifest in us, that is, the anger is not only harming others, but it's also harming ourselves. Because when a psychological defect manifests in our body, it is using our powerful energy in a wrong way. It is actually making us ill. And then you have heart problems, or you have headaches and stuff. And it is because of the constant manifestation of the psychological defect. You allow in yourselves constant states of sadness, depression, worry, anxiety, and you end up with what is the name of this organ? Sorry, the stomach, with the stomach problem, just like gastritis, etc. Ulcers, well, there. And also, as karma, we have to pay for the damage that by letting our psychological defects manifest, we do to others. We are tyrants and we harm others. And most of the times, we are receiving diseases as karma, because we need to receive like a consequence for the bad things that we do. But it is not only that, is that another thing is that we are so convinced that happiness lies in pleasure. We wrongly understand that we are all the time giving free rein to all of our desires and feeding all the pleasures that we can. And we are harming our bodies by eating junk food, drinking alcohol, consuming toxic substances, not like resting the amount of time that we need, so the body really like the vital body can like replenish the energy on the physical body. We don't let that process to go on. We are sleeping bad, and the worst thing, we are all the time fornicating our sexual energy. We are all the time reaching orgasm and ejaculation. We are consuming porn, damaging our mind, etc. We are making a terrible bad use of our energy, of our physical body, by giving free rein to our desires, to our ego. And for that reason, we are condensing our energy in a wrong way. Just think in a moment when you are worried about something. You are there thinking and overthinking, and you start like feeling the anguish, the anxiety, and you are there, you start feeling bad, and you are at that moment feeding so many negative ways of being. And at the same time, you are feeding them with your energy, and you are condensing your energy negatively. We need to know that our thoughts are related to the atoms. Remember just the lecture of 10 of the 7 bodies. Our thoughts, our mind is related to the atoms. And every time that we allow ourselves to have negative thoughts, we are contaminating our own atoms. And the constant accumulation of negative thoughts like contaminates so many atoms. And remember that a molecule is made up of many atoms, and what they do is that they sequence the molecule. And remember that our molecules are related to our emotion. And you can see this, you are having a lot of negative thoughts, and you end up having a terrible negative emotion, and it is because of that. And the accumulation of negative emotions, which are our molecules, ends up contaminating the cells of our body. Remember that the cells are made up of molecules. And that way, by living in this process of allowing negative thoughts, negative emotions, we are generating to ourselves multiple diseases. Depending on the psychological defect manifesting, we end up damaging a part of our body. As I was saying, for example, the negative condensation of the defects of, well, I just explained that, like the anger. You can actually see that how every negative emotion is actually, when you go to see, is the main cause of a disease. And that is something that we need to reflect and understand, to stop feeding ourselves with negative emotion, negative thoughts, because that at the end are the cause of all the different ailments and diseases that we suffer from. We create effects through fornication. We are condensing our energy negatively, and we go to a doctor, for example, and they give us some medicine to solve a situation that we have, but we are not like really eliminating the cause of the situation. We are just like healing the symptoms, but actually the main cause is alive inside ourselves. And as we continue letting the defects manifest, we are like creating once and again the symptoms. We are the illness returns because we are not solving the situation. There is a famous doctor in ancient Greece, which the name of this doctor was Hippocrates, and he used to say, before curing someone, first ask him if he's willing to give up the things that made him sick. And this is important, and it is not only related to our bad habits in when eating the food that we consume, that yes, of course, we need to like make ourselves aware that we are feeding our body very, very bad, that we are not exercising our body. That is important, and yes, it is. But it is also in relation to this, to the psychological defects that we have, that if we really want to heal ourselves, we need to eliminate the psychological defects and eliminate the fornication. Stop spilling our vitality. Stop spilling our sexual energy, which is actually the power, which is actually what can regenerate our physical body. So that is very important. And well, what would be the optimal state? The optimal state for the physical body would be having a body in which we are saving our energy, in which we are making it ascend with the suprasexuality, so we are having an adequate energy condensation. The optimal state would be having a healthy body, right? And start using this powerful energy to create are existential bodies of the being. That would be like the optimal state, having a healthy body and using this body for its superior purpose, to condense properly or positively our sexual creative energy. Now, how are we going to fix the relationship that we have with our physical body? Is with the practice of the 3 factors for the consciousness revolution, but especially practicing the spiritual birth or the suprasexuality. Remember that the 3 factors for the consciousness revolution are the psychological death, the spiritual birth, and the sacrifice for humanity. And with the psychological death, you are going to be releasing all that energy that is currently negatively condensed. You are going to start saving the energy, because by self-observing yourself, discovering the psychological defects that are trying to manifest, the desire that you are feeling, what you are thinking, what you have in your emotions, the sensations on your body, and you are going to be there asking your Divine Mother to eliminate every manifestation of the ego that is in you. There you're going to be saving your energy, but also you're going to be releasing the energy that is already like is there, like condensed negatively. And with the practice of the suprasexuality, by joining our partner sexually in to make the energy ascend through our spine, we are going to start condensing that energy in a positive way as we make it ascend in the practice of the suprasex. And with the practice, with the sacrifice for humanity, which is helping the other brothers of humanity to awaken their consciousness, to have the knowledge of the three factors so they can actually self-realize, right? With that, we are generating dharma so we can pay for the karmas that we have. And if we are like paying for a karma with an illness, I have a karma for having been a tyrant. Then for this, I have a problem with my liver, for example. Then when I get to eliminate a psychological defect, I need to pay for that karma with dharma, that is with the cosmic money that we earn when we sacrifice for others. Then we pay with love for the when we negotiate that karma, and then we can like heal from that illness that we have, because we already pay for that with love, and we don't need to continue paying with pain. Okay, and well, as I was saying, the most important factor for fixing the relationship with our physical body is the suprasex, because as I was saying at the beginning, when we start condensing our energy positively, we start regenerating our physical body. As we are making this powerful sexual energy ascend and feel our whole physical body, we are like giving a new life to each one of our cells. So we are actually like healing our body, right? And well, that is the relationship with the physical body. Let's talk now about the relationship with the external world. What is it? It's the relationship that we have with our peers, that there we can find our family, our partners, our friends, our colleagues at school, university, work, well, the humanity in general. And the relationship also that we have with the world in which we find ourselves, that is the relationship that we have with the work, with the money, with the business, and the relationship with our planets, with our nature, with the environment, with the animals, with the plants, etc. We actually don't know how to relate to the world because of our selfishness, because we want things to be as we want them to be. We want people to behave as we want that they do. You know, we want that everything in the world goes as we planned, and if not, we suffer. And well, we have we really don't know what is the true function of our the true purpose for us to be relating with everyone and with everything. And actually, the function of the relationship with the external world is for us to develop the conscious love through the selfless service. So we develop that law of love, so we can start generating in ourselves or developing in ourselves the true love, which is given without expecting anything in return. And well, actually, we can even find that in the Christian Bible, where we find love one another as I have loved you, for example. So in that world, the Master Jesus explained very clearly the reason why we are related to the external world, to learn to love each other, to learn to put the common good above our selfish interest, to make things to help others. And because actually the love is shown in our works, in the actions, in the things that we do to help others, okay? And well, actually we can see that we have a very bad relationship with the external world, and we can see it in the constant conflicts that we have, the enmities, the states of loneliness, misery, slavery, you can see the world, you can see the poverty in the world, the pollution in the world. And well, actually, the cause of our constant conflicts in the general state of society and of the world lies in our psychological defects, because the exterior is only a reflection of our interior. And actually, we are wasting all the resources that we have in the planet. So we can see that we have very bad relationship with people. And as I was saying, it is because of our selfishness. It is because we are all the time trying to see for our own profit, from our own benefit. And we really don't care at all about everyone else. So we never, or very rarely, do something really for the good of others. We usually do things for having even an indirect gain. You can see, like, when you give something and you post it, you know, there you can see that is very common. That is why I'm using that example. You see people like giving things to poor people and they post it on media, and then you see that you are not doing that actually without any interest. You're doing that to show yourself. So that is what we are. And well, we need to start changing, right? So what would be the optimal state of this relationship? Well, a constant state of harmony, searching all the time to help others. A good relationship will be for us and for everyone to live in freedom, to experience prosperity and the development of the love. The optimal state is be willing to serve and to always improve and to love everyone, not just my family and friends, because that is easy. It is easy to love your loved ones, right? But really, the love is developed when you learn to love everyone as it is your family. Because if you really reflect on this, you are going to see that we are all family in the humanity, because we all came from the same source, which is the sacred absolute Son. So we all have the same like father there, even though we have our inner father. We can say that we all came from the same house, so we are all brothers, right? So we need to learn to love each other and not only seek for the benefit or the health or the good of your family and friends, okay? So how can we start fixing the relationship with the external world? Well, actually, the same, practicing the three factors, yes, but especially the sacrifice for humanity. And practicing the three factors, because as you are working on yourself and you are awakening your own consciousness and you are like transforming yourself, you are going to be able to help better others. If you are awakening your consciousness, you're going to be able to, for example, give the knowledge like better to others, because you are living in your interior the awakening of your consciousness. So you are going to be like able to express these important teachings to others like in a better way, right? And well, actually, the sacrifice for humanity is taking time to help others. And we have like a sacrifice for humanity, the charity. That is when you give a person something to eat, you give a person shelter, or you give an animal shelter or food or etc. That is sacrifice for humanity, you know. That is sacrifice for humanity is when you help people. Sacrifice for animals would be saving the animals, right? But well, the sacrifice for humanity, we can see the charity, which is like important. But we need to know that the most important sacrifice that we can do for humanity is to take part of our time to share this knowledge, even to teach this knowledge to others for they can awaken. And why is that? Because if you give a person something to eat, for example, he can eat for a few days. But if you give that person the knowledge that can help him to radically change his life, you know, you are giving that person something that is going to make him transcend. that is going to make him get out of the physical misery, but also of the spiritual misery. And that way you are helping that person not only for a short moment of his life, you are actually helping that person to save his life, to save his soul, for saying something like real. And well, there you can see the importance of developing love and sacrificing ourselves for humanity. And that way we are going to start like developing that um, willing to constantly serve others. Another important thing to sacrifice are our psychological selves, so we can fix the relationship with other people. Because when we have a bad relationship with anyone, we must like sit, practice the reflective meditation, and find in that meditation what are all those psychological defects that are actually reacting that way in relation to that person, or that are leading us to all the time have a bad relationship with that person. We need to see what we are doing, what we are saying, why we are doing that, why we are saying that, and judging ourselves ruthlessly and eliminating, be I there in that practice, eliminating all those psychological defects. But something that is important also is to put ourselves in the shoes of the other person. And for that, what we do in the reflective meditation is that we also see what are all those things that we dislike about a person, that we criticize about that person, and find all those things in ourselves, to see the person, to use the person as a mirror to get to know ourselves. If I hate that that person is a lazy one, I'm going to look for my own laziness. When have I done the same? When have I acted that way? When have I do that, said that? What is that psychological defect? And when I find it inside of me, and I get to see the desires that it produces in me, the emotions, the sensations, the thoughts, and everything that this psychological defect is doing on me or have done on me anytime, and I eliminate all of that, I'm going to rescue a wisdom, and that wisdom is going to is like make me understand that person, forgive that person, and that way we are going to be having a better relationship with everyone actually. So the sacrifice, the development of the conscious love is actually the key for having a good relationship with our external world. And well, the third relationship is the relationship with oneself. And this is the relationship that we have with our inner being. And this, as I was saying at the beginning, is the most important one, and yes, the most neglected. We find ourselves so identified with the external world, with our personality, that we forget that within us there is a 3% of consciousness, that is God in us, that is our divine and eternal part, which is what we really are, and that we have a 97% of essence that is currently trapped in the ego. And by eliminating our different negative ways of being, we are going to be rescuing all those essences, and we are going to be rescuing all the wisdom about ourselves and also about the outside world. Because when we are doing this inner work, we are getting to know ourselves, and as the Greeks said, know thyself and you will know the universe and the God. So that is in the gods, sorry. And that is very important, that we start like making this conscious work to start relating better with ourselves, that is with our own divine being. And the function of this relationship is that we reach the self-realization. Actually, the only purpose of our existence, the only purpose of our inner being is to achieve the self-realization. The objective of our inner being, of our inner God, is none other than our own happiness. That is like the purpose of our consciousness. And we are actually not experiencing happiness because we don't know ourselves. Actually, well, in the Buddha used to say that the main reason for our constant sufferings is the unknowledge of ourselves. So actually, we need to start fixing this relationship. And well, how can we see that we are really having a bad relationship with our inner being? Well, we can see that in the lack of inner illumination that we have. Many people don't even know what is the true goal of their existence. Most people don't know what really is the purpose of being here. Most people not even ask themselves in their entire life, what am I doing here? What is the purpose of why am I existing in this planet? I just like take the life as it is coming, and that is it. Pass from one life to another, like just repeating their lives once and again. And as we are all the time in that wrong search for pleasures, we are all the times ending in every time more suffering and more confusion and generating karmas and having to experience the consequences and repeating that over and over again. And that let us know that we are having a very terrible relationship with our inner being, with our unconsciousness, with the divine part inside of us. And what would be the optimum state of that relationship? Well, I think that would be a constant state of self-observation, of self-discovering, experiencing, being constantly experiencing the results of the inner works, having a constant communication with our inner being, achieving astral unfoldings, so asking things to our being, receiving the answer of anything that we are asking our inner being, having a constant communication with that divine part of us. That would be the active state. And well, how are we going to fix this relationship? Always with the 3 factors for consciousness revolution, because that is like the medicine for every illness. Yes, it is. But especially by practicing the psychological death, because that is going to take us to obey our being, to develop the obedience to our inner father. So, through the practice of the self-observation and the reflection, we can get to understand why we need to change. We are going to understand that our psychological defects that are making us all the time make the will of them. So we are all the time making the will of the anger, for example, when we are feeling the desire of yelling or harming others, and we do so. So we are obeying our anger, but we are not obeying our consciousness that is there, like whispering, calm down. Like whispering, self-observe, reflect. Don't do that. Don't act like that. So we have like that little whispering that is very little, because we have our consciousness like in the last side, and we have only a 3% of free consciousness, but it is there, and it is all the time like trying to let us know what is the correct path. But as we are all the time making the will of our ego, if we feel lost, if we feel the urge for masturbate, what we do, we go and we do so, even though we have that inside of us that tells us that we are not doing a good thing. Because we are actually extracting the power of us. We are extracting our available sexual energy. And that is the reason why when we started masturbating, we felt that we were doing something wrong. But we deny listening to our consciousness, and we do all the time the will of our ego. We go and we satisfy all of our desires. And that way, we are disobeying our own being. So you can see that the cause of all of our ills and all of the evilness in the world are the psychological defects. And it is through the psychological death that we can start making those changes inside of us, we are at the same time freeing our consciousness. 97% of our essence is there trapped in the ego. And as we are denying ourselves to each one of our desires, to each one of our psychological defects, and we are eliminating them by asking our Divine Mother to eliminate them, we are freeing a part of our essence. And what we are like achieving with this? Every essence that we are releasing, when we manage to fix that essence with the supersexuality in your spine, you are making that 3% grow and grow until the point that you are going to have 100% of awakened consciousness, and you are going to know yourself at that point. But to get there, we need to start doing this step by step, and we do so by denying ourselves from moment to moment, practicing the psychological death, self-observing, defect that is manifesting in us or that wants to manifest. We ask our Divine Mother to eliminate it, and what are we doing? We are not doing the will of our defects, and we are doing the will of our Father, the will of our consciousness, right? And well, that way we are going to be fixing the relationship with our inner being, and we are going to start experiencing all those great benefits of having a good relationship with our inner being, which is having that constant communication, that living that process of enlightenment, and well, astrally unfolding consciously, etc. So that is like very important. And well, that is the way to fix that relationship. And those are the 3 types of relationships. And as I was saying, I want to explain to you a practice that you can do. It is something very easy, and I called it the ICE file. And it will help us to understand why a certain way of being is a psychological defect, in order for us to see like the true and the urgent need to eliminate it from our psychology and to get to that point of the renunciation. Because what happens, there are many times things that we do that we don't really know the urgency of eliminating them. For example, we are so accustomed to spill our sexual energy, and we don't really understand why we really need to stop reaching orgasm and ejaculation. Or ejaculation. If that is something like good, like it, like I know that is very normal. That is part of being a human being. It is not like that. Actually, that is the reason why we are degenerating. That is why we are in the animal state in which we find ourselves. We are not really human beings. We are not men, because being a man is having 5 bodies, 5 internal bodies. Being a man is having representation in the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 7th dimension of nature, the 6th dimension of nature. Sorry, that way you are really a man, and you are not, because we are not. Sorry, because we are all the time spilling our sexual energy, right? So that is like the point of this practice, that we sit and we take a psychological defect. We don't know why we need to really eliminate that. We can say the fornication, but we can talk about the alcohol, for example. I don't know why really I need to stop drinking. Why? I really like it, and I just do it just a while. I'm gonna whatever that we can say. And if we sit and if we do this practice, we are going to find all the reasons why we really need to eliminate a psychological defect. And when we get to understand that, then we get to that important point, which is the renunciation, which is when we say, I'm never going to let or to allow that psychological defect to manifest in my body. I'm not going to allow that psychological defect anymore to come and feed on my energy. I'm going to eliminate that defect and rescue all the consciousness that it has. So what is like or how are we going to do this practice? We are going to ask three important questions in relation to the defect that we are working with: fornication, any vice, anger, envy, jealousy, pornography, masturbation, for laziness, whatever. We take one psychological defect and we ask ourselves in relation to this defect, what damage, that is the first question, what damage has this psychological defect generated to my physical body? Or what damages? Because sometimes there are many, okay? Then if you are working on fornication, you are going to really see the impotence. You are going to see how, well, many things, many ways in which the psychological defects have damaged your physical body. You are going to make your list, right? The second question, how has it damaged my relationship with other people? You can talk about a vice, and because of the alcohol, you had a bad relationship with your couple, or you yell, or you hit. I don't know if that is the correct word. Your children. Yeah, or you are all the time going late to work because of that vice, and well, that is making you have a bad relationship with the external world. There you make your list, right? And the third question, how these psychological defects have damaged my relationship with myself, with my own consciousness. There you make your list. And when you make this list with these three questions, you are going to have like a basis, like a fundament to go against that defect, to take hold your weapons against that defect. Okay, so that is the practice. It's so simple, but it's actually very helpful. And I wanted to give you this practice today and all this explanation. I hope that this is helpful for you. And well, this has been all for today.